Well, he trusted me with the crucial and central task of bringing to life a dream that he was struggling to bring to fruition for 20 years. And when he gave me the part, it was with great grace, great confidence, joy, and generosity. I remember the screen test. I remember the day he offered it to me. Therefore, I can say of him that he placed in me an absolute trust. In turn, I grew to love him, and he was a man in whom I placed an absolute trust.
What was the reason you did this?
I have an eye for good writing. I say that because I spent the first vital years of my career in the Royal Shakespeare Company in the UK, working on the greatest plays ever written. Eventually, by the time I joined Richard, I'd done 15 of the 27. Now I've done about 17 of the 27 plays. And I don't act on stage anymore, but those formative years where I was inhabiting those remarkable plays gave me an appetite for and an eye for the perfectly written play, screenplay, script, whatever you want to call it. And this script, I have to say, is beautifully written. The characters, all the protagonists are perfectly balanced. It's push and pull, it's to and fro, it's pressure and release. It's perfect. It's a perfect screenplay, and it was very easy for me to say yes.
How did you react when you first saw the completed film?
I was overwhelmed by its beauty. It's a beautiful thing to behold on the screen, and I was also delighted to see that it deals with so many extraordinary themes and questions about life, division, envy, class, struggle, ambition, isolation, the status of the orphan, the struggle for the young soul to live in a balanced world, and I thought it was one of the richest experiences I've seen on screen for a very long time. I saw it about 10 days ago. I am really looking forward to seeing it again.
Because you're always very keen to know how you perform in terms of narrative in films, aren't you? And in this case, you really seem to have had a lot of fun with it.
The narrative function of Archibald Snatcher is to represent avarice, greed, warped ambition, vanity, narcissism, hubris. Those are the ingredients that Archibald has to bring to the story in order for the young heroes to flourish, to overcome their obstacles. One of our young heroes, beautifully played by Elle, is a daughter whose father will never hear her, and that must be I know as a child that's very, very difficult to live with and cope with, in a sense, because of the relationship or lack of with her father. She's almost an orphan, and our wonderful Eggs, our hero, is almost an orphan. He doesn't know his father is alive in jail. He's been adopted by and protected by the Boxtrolls. So these our young heroes, in order for the story to be of meaning and weight, our young heroes have to struggle through something in order to be fully realized. What they have to struggle through is the dark threatening ambitions of my character Snatcher. So knowing, appreciating how wonderful their journey is, I must give the dark side to the journey too. So it's a joy to serve the narrative and to have two wonderful, two such wonderful young actors playing the hero and the heroine that I have to push against. It is a very beautiful process.
No one would ever accuse Sir Ben Kingsley of being lazy on the job, and yet we hear that you spent most of your time lying down.
I found that the standing position for me didn't produce the relaxed from the belly voice that I wanted to come from Archibald. When I tried sitting down, that didn't produce the right tone of voice. So they did have in the studio, and this only took a few minutes to rig up, a seat that reclined back, rather like an airplane seat, and I was able to recline, and that also, in that reclining position, that made it absolutely imperative that everything came through my voice. I also refused, I did not allow myself to make any physical gestures whilst recording. Some people do, some actors like to move around a lot in front of a microphone. That didn't serve me at all. Although my puppet, my model, my character on screen is very physically present and active and mobile, I decided not to move at all. So that semi-reclining position, and they pulled the microphone down close to me and the script, so that everything had to come through my voice. It was an increased limit and an increased discipline on what I was trying to do. Standing up, I would have moved around far too much. My body would have been included in my work, and I had to exclude it. The body movements are the province of the animators. I had to hand over the voice to them.
Your voice performance in this seems to highlight the fact that you are at a stage in your career, Sir Ben, where you are constantly surprising us.
That's my job, I guess. That's lovely. I mean, that's great that you say that. That's really what. And if I can't surprise myself, I won't surprise the audience. So I'm constantly trying to surprise myself. And it's a great craft. I love what I do for a living, and it's wonderful to have opportunities to surprise myself because the business is diversifying so much. Now there's so many things the actor can do now. So many avenues of expression open to the actor now. And I love to open those doors and diversify.
It's not often that you get to see an actor upstage someone like Robert Downey Jr. in an Iron Man 3. We see a lot of A-plus actors, such as yourself, take supporting roles in these big franchise films. What was the reason you took part in Iron Man 3, which is absolutely scene-stealing stuff?
The greatest compliment, I think, that I can pay to Robert is that when he sees that it is absolutely vital to the story, he will shift the balance of any scene towards what he thinks will best serve the movie and the narrative drive. It was in his gift to shift the balance towards the Mandarin and Trevor, and all the time I was working with him, I sensed that he was giving me a lot of space. And at the end of our shooting together, he actually turned to the crew and started a round of applause for me himself. That's the kind of guy he is. He's immensely generous. You do not steal a scene from Robert Downey Jr. unless he says you can.
Mate, in Gandhi, House of Shadows and Fog, and Schindler's List, we see you portray decency under extreme stress. Why does that theme appeal to you?
I think that in many of Shakespeare's greatest plays, you find that the human spirit is tested by the landscape around him or her. My greatest experience with that company was the privilege of playing Hamlet, and he's a perfect example of trying to bring a balanced, intelligent, lucid, illuminated decency to the corrupt world he's living in, and light and shade, I suppose, light and shade. It's beautiful to explore this wonderful balance that we have in our lives and in our universe.
Now,
of light and shade.
It seems ironic that after Gandhi and Schindler, two brilliant performances, the role that you're most recognised for is Don Logan in Sexy Beast. Why is this, and what was it about that role that awoke something in you?
Whenever in a story, in a play, there is a consistent act of violence from an individual, I often wonder why that person is in such a rage. And I, during filming, very early on in filming, found the key, privately and secretly, to Don Logan's rage, and I turned the key, and it fueled the whole of the performance.
Did that change the nature of some of the roles you then took on? You seem to sort of go for more humorous roles after that.
Well, I have no strategy whatsoever in my career. It's all a series of accidents and coincidences. The only strategy I have is when I'm acting, working on a role. Then I apply some kind of strategy and thought. But otherwise, this business is so random. I have no control over what roles people send me. The only control I have is over how I perform, and maybe how I performed on Logan opened some doors for me, but I did not open them myself. No, they opened because of, it's just coincidence and accident, really.
You've made 8 films in 2 years, and you're planning on producing...
I'm slipping, I know. I could do better. I should try harder.
What is this sweet spot that you have arrived at this point in your career? Why are you working so hard?
Also, my wife and I have started our own production company, so we also have at least 6 films on our slate that we're developing. I love cinema very much. I'm privileged to have been able to exercise my craft almost continually from the moment I first started acting, and the more I do it, the more I love it. And it's a wonderful way of life. It's creative. It's not destructive. Nothing I do harms anybody, and I love to tell stories. I absolutely love to tell stories.
And you love revealing the truth too. The Oscar Wilde quote, "Give a man a mask and he'll tell you the truth."
That's a great quote. I love that quote.